Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bug Discussions podcast, the channel, man. Yo, whatever you want to call it, it is the man Jay Coop. And in today's video, man, we're going to go ahead and talk about all the NBA playoff factors for this year's playoffs, man. We got a lot of good series. In the first round alone, man, I'm excited about this year's playoffs, man. So without any more wasting y'all time, man, let's get straight to it. I will say though, before we do start, these X factors for these certain teams isn't necessarily X factors for these specific series, but just throughout the whole playoffs in total, but also these series as well, you know what I'm saying? But the first series we're gonna talk about is gonna be the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets. Now for the Los Angeles Lakers, man, I had to keep it really simple with their X factor. If you guys remember last year, they did get swept against the Denver Nuggets, one of the most competitive sweeps in NBA history, man. But I will say D'Angelo Russell had something to do with that sweep. He really was not himself in that series versus the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. But as of lately, man, D'Angelo Russell, in my opinion, is probably going to be the biggest X factor for the Los Angeles Lakers in this first round series, because you already know what LeBron's going to do. You already know what AD is going to do. Those guys have been one of the best duos all season, you know what I'm saying, regardless of the seed they are at. You know what I'm saying? So these guys have been hooping, you know, all season. They've been a pretty good team all season. I mean, just that. Not a great team, but a good team, you know what I'm saying? And D'Angelo Russell's really had a part to do with that. He's averaged 18 points, 3 rebounds, and also 6 assists this season. And he's been shooting 41% from 3 on 7 attempts. So I feel like the Lakers are really going to need this series, just because of how bad he was. Last year, he was so bad that he literally got played off the floor. So I just feel like D'Angelo Russell is going to be the biggest X factor for the Lakers. And I guess you could probably also throw Gabe Vincent in there, who just started coming back like the last 8 or 10 games for the Lakers. I think he's going to be big on, you know, just guarding Jamal Murray and getting him his space and not letting him get to his comfortable position. So yeah, that's who I'm going to go with for the Lakers, is D'Angelo Russell. But I guess you could throw like Rui Hachimura in there too, just due to the fact that he was guarding Jokic somewhat well last season in the playoffs. Now, you're never going to guard Jokic to his fullest extent, but Rui, he really did play a pretty good part in, you know, trying to stop Jokic last year in the Western Conference Finals. For the Denver Nuggets X Factor, I'm going to go ahead and rock with a second-year player in Christian Braun. Now, Christian Braun, he did play his role last year in the NBA playoffs as a rookie, you know, helping the Denver Nuggets win a championship. But I would like to see a little bit more from him, especially due to the fact that the Denver Nuggets have lost some depth since last season. They lost Jeff Green and they also lost Bruce Brown. So, you know, just mathematically, they're going to need someone else to step up. You know what I'm saying? I think that guy can be Christian Braun. He's averaged 7 points on the season, shooting 38% from 3 on only 2 attempts. So I think they're definitely going to need that this playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Just due to the fact, like I said, they lost depth. They're going to need more scoring, especially if a guy like MPJ, who you could argue could be an X factor as well, say he's having a rough game, you're definitely going to need someone to come in off the bench like a Christian Braun and just, you know, put up some buckets for you guys. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think that's pretty much my X factor for the Nuggets. But I mean, also I guess you could throw Eric Gordon in there, but I feel like this series is going to be pretty fun, even though I do see the Nuggets ultimately winning in like 5 games. I don't think the Lakers are going to get swept again like last year, just due to the fact they're going to be a lot more fresher. It's the first round. They've had a couple days of rest. So I think the Lakers could get one, but it's going to be tough. Now for the next series, the Phoenix Suns versus the Timberwolves, this may be pretty obvious, but I'm going to rock with Bradley Beal as the biggest X factor for the Phoenix Suns, just due to the fact that he's just been so hurt this season, where he really hasn't even played that many games, it felt like. He's just been on and off the court. He'll be on the court for 5 games and be off the court for 10 games. Come back for 10 games and be off for 5 games. So, I mean, Bradley Beal, when he did play, he was all right. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't his normal Bradley Beal self. He averaged 18 points on the season, also shooting 43% on the year from 3 on only 4.5 attempts. So, I mean, I think Bradley Beal, especially for Phoenix Suns fan, it was probably a little encouraging seeing him play later down the season, the last couple of games, just because he actually was starting to hoop. Especially, I think it was the game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the last game of the season, where he had like 30-something points. But Bradley Beal is definitely going to be the biggest X factor, just considering how on and off the court he's been this season, and also just how inconsistent he's been. So, but another Phoenix Suns X factor, I'm gonna rock with Grayson Allen, man. He's been the best 3-point shooter in the league. He's shooting a career high from three, 46% on 6 attempts, which is just absolutely insane. But he's averaging 13 points on the year, along with 4 rebounds and 3 assists. So I think Grayson Allen is obviously going to be one of their biggest X factors, just due to the fact that obviously if you have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, one of those guys have an off night, man, you're going to need a guy like Grayson Allen to just come in and hit 5 threes real quick. You know what I'm saying? So, and also, he's not a bad defender. You know what I'm saying? I think he's going to be a guy that you could possibly throw at Ant. I'm not going to say he's going to stop him, but he's a guy that you would throw at Ant, just due to the fact that you don't want to tire your stars out too much, and plus your stars aren't known for being defenders. Bradley Beal, he's strong and stuff, but he's not a defender like that. Same with Devin Booker. He's got a little length or whatever, but he's not a defender. And KD, we all know who he ain't really a defender like that, even though he's long. Pause. But yeah, man, those are the 2 X factors I got for the Phoenix Suns. It's going to be a really fun series, though, man, to go in against the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, man, I'm going to rock with a guy that's actually not even in the starting lineup. I'm going to rock with their potential 6th man of the year, Naz Reid, man. Naz Reid has been a godsend for the Minnesota Timberwolves ever since they've had him, man. Even going back to last season when Karl-Anthony Towns was missing time. You had Rudy Gobert in and out the lineup. He was hurt for a little bit last year. Naz Reid is a real NBA player, and he could potentially be starting on another NBA team. But he's just such a professional, such a good player, man. I don't see how anyone couldn't love Naz Reid, man. But I just feel like he's going to be one of the biggest X factors for the Minnesota Timberwolves, just due to the fact that Karl-Anthony Towns is still coming off a meniscus tear, and he's still getting into form and stuff. But I just feel like Naz Reid is going to be that punch off the bench for the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially against a high-powered offense like the Phoenix Suns, man. You already know, I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves, their offense isn't that great, so they're going to need someone like Naz Reid to just come in and get some quick buckets, man. He could do a little bit of everything, man. He averaged 13 points on the season, and he shot 41% from 3 this year on 5 attempts for a big man. Like, that's really good, you know what I'm saying? So he's basically like a lower version of Karl-Anthony Towns, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think he's going to be the X factor for me, man. I just think he's been so goddamn good. And also, I guess you could throw Monte Morris in there. He's only played 27 games with the Minnesota Timberwolves this year, but in those 27 games, he's averaged 5 points. He's also averaged 2.5 assists, shooting 42% from 3 on 2 attempts. So, yeah, I think Monte Morris is going to be decent, just due to the fact that, I mean, not Karl-Anthony Towns, Mike Conley, man, he's getting older, you know what I'm saying? And he's getting a little bit picked on defensively. So I think you're going to need a guy like Monte Morris to come in who could try to hold his own defensively. I think he's like 6'3", something like that, but he can facilitate the ball as well. So that's definitely going to be an important guy for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Next series, man, one of the series I'm actually most excited for is the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Indiana Pacers. Now, for the Milwaukee Bucks, it's kind of hard because the only thing I really wrote down for their X factors was, one, Giannis's knee, or his calf, I should say. We definitely got to see how that goes, because, man, if he's missing any time in this series, especially the way the Pacers matched up against the Bucks, this series might be over before he even comes back. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be super tough. But for their X factor, man, I just went ahead, excuse me, with Malik Beasley, because he's obviously, you know, a streaky three-point shooter. But I just think, I mean, also, I guess you could go with Chris Middleton too, who I also have written down, just because obviously when Giannis is down, you're going to need a lot of scoring. You're going to need a lot of firepower, and obviously that's what Damian Lillard provides, you would hope. But Chris Middleton, he's going to have to be Chris Middleton from a couple years ago, you know what I'm saying? Because if they want any chance of winning this series, especially Malik Beasley, one of the role players, just because he did average 11 points this season, but he averaged 41% from the 3 on 7 attempts this year. They're really going to need that this series, especially against the high-powered, you know, offense like the Pacers, man. That's all they do. That's what they're known for, is running the ball down your throat. They're not known for locking you up and stuff like that. So it's going to be tough, man. I just think Malik Beasley, he's going to have to lock the hell in, especially offensively, but also defensively, bro, because they have a lot of good guards on the Pacers and just a lot of good, you know, fast players that you're going to have to stay in front of. So Malik Beasley, man, I think he's going to be an X factor for the Bucks. For the Indiana Pacers, I did choose Aaron Nesmith as their biggest X factor, just because I really do like watching this dude play. He's just aggressive every time he's out there. But also, I just think he's a very, very important player in the series, specifically just because he's going to have to be going at guys like Damian Lillard. He's also going to have to be harping on guys like Chris Middleton and even Malik Beasley, who we just got done talking about, you know. But I really do like Aaron Nesmith. He's became a really good three-point shooter. I believe it is his career high from the three-point land this year. He's shooting 41% from three on 4.5 attempts, which is pretty good. And he's also averaging 12 points on the season. Like, I really do think he's going to be a big X factor in this game, the series, let alone, and also all the series that the Pacers go on to play, just because he's such a good defensive-minded guard, in my opinion. I don't think he's that big. He's probably like 6'4", 6'5", maybe even shorter than that, 6'3". But I just think he hustles a lot, and I think he's going to provide a lot for this Indiana Pacers team, man. If there's Indiana Pacer fans out there, let me know how you guys feel about Aaron Nesmith, because I really do like this kid. I think he has a bright future in this league. And yeah, man, I just think he's going to be the biggest X factor for them. I guess you could throw a guy like Miles Turner in there too, just because, you know, if Giannis does come back, they're going to need a guy like him to help on Giannis, and also I guess like guys like Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a good series, man. I can't wait for this one. But for the next series, man, between the Cavs and the Magic, this, you know, X factor for the Cavs might seem a little obvious. It is one of their star players. I just feel like he has a lot more to give than what he has given this season overall. And some of that has been due to injury, but I just feel like he does have a lot more potential out there, and that is Evan Mobley, man. He's averaged 15 points on the season, along with 9 rebounds and 3 assists. But something, you know, to keep an eye out for is he's actually shooting 50% from 3 this season, but only on 2 attempts. And he hasn't really taken that many threes overall this season. But I think he's going to be an X factor just due to the fact, like I said, the Cavs realistically want Evan Mobley to start shooting threes, because you don't want 2 bigs out there with Jared Allen and also Evan Mobley where you guys aren't spacing the floor. You can't have 2 players out there on the court at the same time who can't really shoot threes. So if Evan Mobley can get into, you know, a rhythm where he can not, you know, knock them down every day, every game, but if he can consistently knock the three-pointer down and just help his team, you know what I'm saying, that would be really nice for the Cavs. That's really what they want. But I also think he's going to be an X factor because he's going to be guarding guys like Paolo probably, along with Jared Allen and stuff. And he's also going to be guarding Wendell Carter Jr., guys like those, you know, Franz Wagner, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They're going to need a very versatile big like Evan Mobley to be, you know, kind of willing to be mobile. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to, you know, probably switch onto the perimeter sometimes, but he's probably going to have to be a help defender as well. So Evan Mobley, man, I feel like he's going to be a big X factor, especially if he can knock down a couple threes, which I'm not expecting them to, you know, go to him too much for threes, but if he gets a look, man, he's probably going to have to knock it down. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, but as for the Magic, man, I think Franz's three-point shooting is going to be a very big X factor for the Magic, just because it's been so up and down this season. You know what I'm saying? And also just the fact that, you know, Franz in general, he's been kind of up and down this season, but I think he has a lot to give in the series. But another X factor I wrote down is Jonathan Isaac. I think it was the Magic's last game of the season against the Bucks. They threw Jonathan Isaac into the starting lineup, if I am not mistaken. If I'm wrong, any Magic fans, let me know. But I'm pretty sure I saw him in the starting lineup. But he's just been such a defensive monster this year, man. He's been one of the best defensive players in the league, if not the best defensive player. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but Jonathan Isaac, he's only averaging about almost 7 points this season on 37% from 3, and he's only taking about 3 attempts a game. So I think he has a lot to give, particularly on the defensive side, which is kind of why I had him as the X factor, just because against the Cavs team where they got guys like Donovan Mitchell and also Darius Garland, you're going to need a guy like Jonathan Isaac. You're going to need his length, you know what I'm saying, to throw at guys like that. But yeah, man, I think those are my X factors for this series. Now for the series I've been most anticipating, just because it is my Los Angeles Clippers, man. The X factor I wrote down for the Clippers, man, one is Kawhi's knee, obviously, because if Kawhi's knee is not intact, if it is not healthy, honestly, this whole series just is pointless. The Mavs will probably win in 5 games if Kawhi is not healthy. You know what I'm saying? But if Kawhi is healthy, I do have an X factor for you, man. It is Russell Westbrook. I think he is going to provide a lot this series. Russell Westbrook has actually matched up pretty well against the Dallas Mavericks this season, particularly. You know what I'm saying? I just think he's done a lot. He's another body that you could throw at guys like Kyrie and Luka. And if you have been watching any Clippers games this season, you know that Russell Westbrook has been one of the better defensive players, just due to the fact that, like, he knows that he's not going to get that many minutes. So when he does get minutes, he has to come in and make an impact somehow. And Russell Westbrook is a dog defensively when he locks in. You know what I'm saying? I think he can get in Luka's jersey. I think he can get in Kyrie's jersey for sure. He could just tire those guys out. We're going to need that, you know what I'm saying? Because even if Kawhi is healthy, you don't want him and Paul George having to guard those guys the whole series, which it would be ideal, but you're going to tire those guys out on offense, you know what I'm saying? So you want those guys to be fresh and have fresh legs for the offensive side. So having a guy like Russell Westbrook who can facilitate, hustle, rebound, one of the best rebounding guards of all time, and just getting those guys jersey and get gritty with them, man, I think he's going to be very important in the series, you know what I'm saying? But for the Mavs, man, I did write Derrick Jones Jr. I think he's going to be their biggest X factor just due to the fact that you're going to need that length that Derrick Jones Jr. provides for guys like Paul George, James Harden even, and also Kawhi Leonard, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's been an all right player this season. They did insert him into the starting lineup a couple weeks ago, and ever since then, man, the Mavs have taken off. They've been one of the best teams in the league since that day. And yeah, man, also another X factor is PJ Washington, a guy that they got at the trade deadline, man. I think he's going to be big just for all the same reasons I said about Derrick Jones Jr. I just think he's going to, be another guy you can throw at guys like Kawhi, PG. He's averaging 13 points on the season, shooting 31% from three, which isn't ideal, but he is taking almost 6 attempts a game. So hopefully, you would like to see that even out in the playoffs, you know what I'm saying? See him take better attempts and stuff, but yeah, man. For this next series, man, we got the Oklahoma City Thunder as the number 1 seed taking on the Pelicans as the number 8 seed. We just seen this last night. The play-in game where the Pelicans went on to beat the Kings, man. So this is officially the Oklahoma City Thunder's opponent is the Pelicans. But for the Thunder, man, I got Josh Giddey as the goddamn X factor, man. Just due to the fact that, man, over the last couple weeks, like the last weeks of the regular season, he's been doing decent from three. You know what I'm saying? He made a couple teams pay from three. Matter of fact, I think it was against the Pelicans a couple weeks ago. He hit a couple threes against them to win that game. You know what I'm saying? But Josh Giddey, who's been averaging 12 points on the season, shooting 33% from three on 3 attempts. I just think if he is going to be in the starting lineup, which, I mean, it's very iffy if he will be or not. I think he probably will be just because they've been rocking with him all year. You're going to need him to knock down his wide open threes. You know what I'm saying? You can't have a guy out there being scared to take shots and take threes specifically, especially when you need them. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's going to be a big X factor because also his playmaking as well. I think that's very important. But also Lu Dort. Lu Dort is another guy I will be keeping an eye out on just because I want to see what the Oklahoma City Thunder will do. Will they throw him on a guy like Brandon Ingram? I'm assuming it's probably Jalen Williams that they throw on him, or is he going to be guarding a guy like CJ McCollum, or is he going to be guarding a guy like, I don't know, Herb Jones, someone less offensively gifted? I don't know. We're just going to see what Herb Jones does, but he is shooting a career high from three this season, 39% from three on 5 attempts. So that's going to be very important for the Thunder as well. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, we're just going to have to see what happens with the Thunder. But for the Pelicans, I do got Herb Jones. Now, they're going to be without Zion, so I feel like the whole team is an X factor if you ask me, just because everyone's going to have to step up. But Herb Jones, man, he's shooting a career high from three, 41% from three on 6.5 attempts, my fault, 3.5 attempts from three, you know what I'm saying? He's averaging 11 points on the season. So Herb Jones is going to be a very, very big contributor in this series as well, and just in the playoffs in general for the Pelicans, if you ask me personally. But yeah. Now for the other 1-8 matchup in the Eastern Conference, man, we got the Boston Celtics taking on the Miami Heat, who did beat the Chicago Bulls last night in a very, very ugly fashion. They destroyed the Bulls, and it was kind of weird because I was like, without Jimmy Butler, there's no way you guys should, be winning this game, especially by how much they did win by. But hey, they pulled it out. But for the biggest X factor for the Celtics, man, I'm gonna rock with Kristaps Porzingis, man. The reason I wrote him down is obviously he's been one of their better players all season, but we've seen him in previous years, and especially in the playoffs with guys like Luka Doncic, where he kind of just was sitting in a corner, even though that's supposedly what he was told to do. I just want to see what Kristaps, Porzingis does in the playoffs when he's actually involved. You know what I'm saying? I think his health is a big X factor as well. He has to stay healthy if the Celtics want to make any noise. And he's been averaging 20 points on the season. He's shooting 37% from three on 5 attempts. And I think he's going to be one of the biggest X factors. You know what I'm saying? If you go back to their previous playoffs, the Celtics, man, you would see that they could use a guy like, Kristaps Porzingis, who could just stretch the floor, especially as a guy that's like 7'1", 7'2", something like that. He's going to be a very key contributor for this Boston Celtics team, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, as for the Miami Heat, all I wrote down was the whole team. without Jimmy Butler, man, you're going to need every ounce of every guy. You know what I'm saying? You're going to need Nikola Jovic to go crazy. You're going to need Jaime Jaquez Jr. to go crazy, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, everybody. You're going to need everybody to play that role to a T. Like, you guys are going to damn near have to play perfect to beat this Celtics team. So that's why I just think the whole Miami Heat team is an X factor. But who knows, man? You guys do have the better coach. Spo is they're probably arguably the best coach in the league. So, hey, man, with that guy, I guess you can get anything done. But we're just going to have to see how this series goes, man. I probably got the Boston Celtics in 4. Now, for the last series, but certainly not least, man, we got the New York Knicks versus the Philadelphia 76ers, man. Shout out to the Knicks, man. I really do like the season they had, especially playing that last game against the Chicago Bulls, where they could have just sat everybody, but no, they wanted to go for that number 2 seed. You know what I'm saying? And hey, man, I hope the basketball gods reward them with a victory in this first round, but they got a very, very tough opponent in the Philadelphia 76ers, who I wrote down their X factor to be Kelly Oubre Jr., who's been super big for them this whole season. They're going to need him to just be everywhere on the court. They're going to need him to produce offensively, but they're also going to need him to do his thing defensively, maybe even switch on to a guy like Jalen Brunson a time or two, just so they don't let him get in too much of a rhythm. You already know Jalen Brunson's about to go off, but if you can stop him a little bit with like throwing a guy like Kelly Oubre on him, I think that'd be nice, man. Kelly Oubre's averaging 15 points on the season with 5 rebounds, man. I just think this might have been one of his best seasons all year, especially with Joel Embiid being out. He did his thing, you know, on this Philly team this year. And also another X factor is Nick Batum. Nick Batum, man, this season is shooting 37.5% from 3. And I think he's going to be important for y'all. You guys already seen how important he was in that play-in game against the Miami Heat. You know what I'm saying? He was big in that game. So, but as for the New York Knicks, man, I got Isaiah Hartenstein as their biggest X factor. I think he's been their starting center all year with Mitchell Robinson out, and I think he's been one of the better defensive bigs in the league, man. I think you're definitely going to need a guy like this against a guy like Joel Embiid, who's actually not even 100%. So if you guys have a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein getting physical with Embiid, making him uncomfortable, you know, I think that's going to go a long way for this Knicks team. And also, I seen Isaiah Hartenstein have a little quote yesterday where he said he's going to try not to have Joel Embiid get to the line so much. Now, that's easier said than done, you know what I'm saying? But Isaiah Hartenstein, man, I really think he's going to be a big X factor. He's been so big for them this season, especially, like I said, defensively. But another guy that I have as their biggest X factor is Dante DiVincenzo, who's been averaging 15.5 points on the season. He's also shooting 40% from 3 on 8.5 attempts. Dante DiVincenzo has had one hell of a season after coming from the Golden State Warriors. You know what I'm saying? He said, you know, Steph Curry even had a big part in how good he's been shooting from 3 this season. So they're going to need that 3-point shooting this series specifically against the Philadelphia 76ers, especially without a guy like Julius Randle who's able to score for them and stuff like that. And hey, man, this is going to be a big series. You know what I'm saying? Even another X factor you could throw out for the Knicks is probably going to be OG Anunoby, who was dealing with an elbow injury. You know what I'm saying? But you got him back healthy. You know, maybe not 100%, but he's back out there playing anyway. So you're going to need him out there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, this might be one of the best series as well, the Knicks versus the 76ers. I am very excited, but yeah, man, this pretty much does wrap up this X Factor video. If you guys enjoyed it, found it useful, informational in any type of way, make sure you hit it with a thumbs up, man. And hey, man, make sure y'all stick around because we got more basketball content coming soon. You know, all my Clipper fans, make sure y'all keep tapping in, man. I really do appreciate y'all who've been showing love on the videos. But yeah, man, until next time, man, enjoy the playoffs. They start today, you know, Saturday, April 20th. So make sure you guys are having a good day. Make sure y'all stay safe and enjoy basketball. Peace out, y'all. In the jungle like I'm Conan, count up with both hands. Switch the flow like it was broken. I'm on the road, man, making plays just like DeRozan. I shoot my shot, and that shit wetter than the ocean. I brag a lot, but with the wind and come the boasting. I made a lot from them apartments that I sold, and he didn't make it up to college. So them streets where he enrolled in. I know I'm a scholar from the moments that I was exposed in.